Before I start the show, I would like to remember those who lost their lives in the Challenger explosion some 32 years ago today. On the morning of January 28th, 1986, Challenger took off, and 73 seconds into its ascent, it broke apart, ending in a fireball and taking the lives of the 7 astronauts on board. Francis R. Scobie, Michael J. Smith, Ronald McNair, Ellison Onizuka, Judith Resnick, Gregory Jarvis, and Krista McAluffy all lost their lives on January 28th, 32 years ago today. So I'd like to remember their sacrifice as we move forward, and just keep in mind that these people have gave their lives in the pursuit of space exploration and furthering the American space program. Hey, welcome back to the Big Ranch Show. As always, thank you for joining me. If you could, hit the subscribe button down below and let's get right to it. Well, first off, it's been announced that Don Imus, basically an icon in the world of talk radio, will be going off the air as of March 29th of 2018. Apparently, his company that syndicates his show has said he'll no longer get paid, thus the Don Imus show will end. Don Imus in the Morning's been around for a long time, and Don Imus has been on the radio since since at least the 70s. Basically, he's had a continuous voice in talk radio in the New York area, and been syndicated across the country for several years now. And Don Imus will apparently be off the air. Now, there's a lot of stuff about Don Imus. Some things I liked, some things I didn't. I used to enjoy watching his show back a good 10, 15 years ago. When they would syndicate it, on TV and stuff like that. And I'd listen to it on the radio, things like that. And he had a lot of good points. He made a lot of good points and had some really good discussions on his show. And some really good interviews and things like that. It was a really good show. And then, of course, he made his comments about the Rutgers, women's basketball team. And things kind of went downhill. I stopped watching. A lot of other people stopped watching. And unfortunately, because of the things he said and the way he acted about it afterwards, he lost a lot of viewership. And so, unfortunately, he made those comments, and you can't take that back. You can apologize, and he didn't even really want to do that. He didn't see where he did anything wrong. So a lot of people were rather upset about that, and they didn't want to watch him anymore or listen to him anymore. That's when I chose to quit listening to him myself. But I will say that Don Imus had a good show, a great platform. Talked about a lot of really important issues on his show. And in a way, kind of drove me to write it was kind of the reason why I ended up writing my first vlog, or my first blogs and things like that. And why when I finally decided to make a YouTube channel, that I wanted to make a YouTube channel over, politics and talking politics and things like that. That's one reason I got into doing this particular style of YouTube show, because that's what I enjoy doing, and it was something I watched, Don Imus do for years. So it's a sad thing to see him go, but at the same time, his viewership had been down, and it came out, a lot of times it came out with some rather racist views, it seemed like. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. It's sad to see an icon go, But to see how he turned out, that he turned out to be the rather racist guy that he turned out to be, I guess it's really not that big of a loss. But it is the loss of an icon in the world of talk radio. So Imus in the Morning, as of March 29th, will no longer be on the air. And I wish Don Imus well. Hopefully he's not holding the same views or speaking the same stuff that he was back when he got in trouble over the Rutgers basketball team. And other statements of, because there's no reason to be racist. There's really no reason for it. It doesn't make any sense. There's no reason to make racist comments like that. And it's lame, if you ask me. So, at the end of the day, Don Imus losing his show due to low ratings, low viewers and stuff, that's something he brought upon himself, and unfortunately, a great voice in the world of talk radio will be gone. In other news, apparently the EPA has made a surprise decision, which has actually been well received by a lot of environmentalists and a lot of Democrats and liberals and progressives as well. Won't be taken so well for those that love to drill and mine and things like that over on the right. But those of you that like salmon, especially sockeye salmon, will be very happy about this news. The EPA reversed the decision that they had made last year to scale back protections for the Bristol Bay area of Alaska. Bristol Bay is one of the biggest and probably the largest and most pristine sockeye fishing grounds and spawning grounds in the entire world. This is one place that's been basically untouched by modernization and factories and mining or any of that. It's like a pristine ecosystem that has never been screwed with. And after a short 30-minute conversation with the head of a company called Pebble, last year Trump's head of the EPA had decided, well, we're going to get rid of all those protections and they're going to mine here. I mean, I remember being pissed off about it, but I didn't say anything, didn't make a video about it, because I was hoping that things would change, that they would change their mind after looking at the science and things like that. And in the end, the head of the EPA has decided that those changes will not take place, that they will remain the Obama-era regulation on protecting the Bristol Bay area in Alaska, and the sockeye fishing ground and spawning ground will remain intact. And that's a good thing. I'm not sure exactly how long this will last. Will Donald Trump decide to tell his EPA guy to go shove it up his ass or whatever? I don't know. But there's no reason to destroy a pristine, untouched by man area. The only people that have been there are fishermen. And according to a CNN article, the area supports roughly 14,000 fishermen. And if this mining was allowed to take place, the science on it says that it would basically irreversibly destroy the ecosystem and basically kill all the fish. Maybe not all of them, but almost all of them, to the point that it wouldn't be worth fishing anymore. Not to mention the fish that would come out of it would be poisoned and we couldn't eat it any damn way. So, that said, I'm glad that the EPA decided to reverse their decision here and stick with the Obama-era regulations that were put in place after decades of research and years of analysis. And they analyzed the data for it from 2011 to 2014. It's not like the EPA and the scientists over at the EPA just randomly said one day, "Oh, we just want to screw this company over." That's not what happened. So you're going to hear people on the right saying that's what happened, that the EPA was trying to screw this company over, da-da-da-da-da. Bullshit. There are decades of studies, years of analysis that proved that a mine the size that they wanted to build would destroy the area. Mining in general in the area would destroy this ecosystem. Let's leave something on Earth untouched, especially if it's something that's providing sustenance to people. A lot of farming and a lot of stuff like that isn't sustainable, isn't healthy. It's bad for the environment, a lot of the stuff we do with chemicals and things like that. But here's a place that you can fish without chemicals. The and people get fed around the world with the salmon that comes out of this area. So I'm glad to see that this took place, and that's really all you can say is it's a win-win, because it can feed people. It's also a sustainable fishing ground that sustains itself, and you don't need to be harming that. Now, my last bit of news, it's a bit of sad news, and it's something that seems to happen a lot, especially in Afghanistan. But the other day, 103 people were killed in a bombing where where some terrorists basically stuffed a ambulance full of explosives and detonated it on a street full of, crowded with people. Killed 103 individuals. It was loaded with loaded with tons of explosives. Killed some 30 police officers. A lot of civilians died. It's just more proof that, once again, that terrorism is not going away. That you can kill one group and another group's going to pop up. There's nothing you can do. We cut the head off the snake of Al-Qaeda. They're still there. But other people have spawned. You've got ISIS. ISIS is on its way out. But guess what? You've got other groups that are already taking its place. You've got places, down in Africa where they consider themselves the ISIS of the African continent. And it's not going away. It's a huge fight that we're going to have to fight forever, unfortunately. I think we're going to have to find new ways to do it. I don't think the way we're doing it is working. Obviously, it's not, because we keep killing the terrorists and they keep coming back. We keep getting more and more terrorists. There's something we have to do here. I don't know what to do. I'm really at a loss at what we can do here. And it's really sad to see. I am sad to see that Afghanistan can't get back to what they were, before the Islamists took over the country. Because you can go back and see a day in time when Afghanistan and Kabul, Afghanistan, were no different than a U.S. city, really. Women in skirts and stuff like that, dressed like, just as normal as any Western country. But the radical Islamists have took over, and the country's gone to shit. And most countries, when they're taken over by groups like that, turn out to be shit. And it's not that the people are. A lot of the people are good people that are caught up in something that they didn't believe in, that they didn't support. Like in Iran. It wasn't the majority, it's not really the entire country that are crazy. It's the Islamic nuts that took over the country, that rule the country. So you have to be sure you separate the people of a country from its government. Because not always do the people of a country hate people from our country just because their government does. There are people in Iran, there are people all over the Middle East that show support for the U.S., whether their country and government do or not. But I really hate to see the loss of innocent lives. It's just terrible to see 103 people murdered by terrorists. And my heart goes out to any of the families of the victims and everything. And I'm sorry that this is happening once again. At the end of the day, it's something we need to stop as a world. We've got to get together as a global community and say no more. It stops now. That is what needs to happen. And sadly, our president, made put out a tweet the other day about it, or yesterday about what happened. And that was great of him. But he still remained silent on the 2 school shootings that took the lives of 2 teenagers and left one in the hospital critically wounded. And there's some other, in Kentucky, the Kentucky shooting, 14 people ended up in the hospital that weren't deceased. and there are a lot of them in critical condition, and then the one that was left in critical condition in Italy, Texas. Anyhow, that's been the show for today. I hope you had a great weekend, and look forward to bringing you more content. Please hit the subscribe button down below, and I'll see you down the road.